They tell you if you're good-looking, rich, successful, she'll want you, that she'll flock to you if you tick the boxes, play the part, follow the rules. But Machiavelli saw through that lie, and so have you, because deep down, you've done everything right. And still, she pulled away, went cold, chose someone else, someone with less. That's because she's not choosing with logic. She's not weighing resume points. She's not calculating worth based on fairness. She's being pulled by something beneath the surface, by an ancient instinct she doesn't even understand. Machiavelli didn't study dating. He studied power, but what he uncovered explains everything about attraction. You see, women don't fall for men who play by the rules. They fall for men who break them, effortlessly, unapologetically, without seeking approval. Machiavelli taught that power doesn't knock, it doesn't ask, it arrives. And in relationships, that's exactly what most men fail to do. They try, they hope, they ask. And in that moment, the moment you seek validation, you've already lost it. Because attraction, real attraction, lives in Rule 1. Power is never announced, it is felt. And Rule 2, the man who can walk away holds the most power. Every time you chase, you give away your crown. Every time you explain, apologize, or prove, you shrink. But when you stop asking to be chosen, you become the only choice. You gave her flowers, compliments, good morning texts, loyalty, consistency. You followed the script they handed you since childhood. But something felt off. She smiled politely, yet seemed distant, grateful, but not drawn to you. Why? Because you played the role she expected, not the man her instincts crave. Machiavelli saw it centuries ago. When people get what they expect, they lose desire. Women aren't moved by effort. They're moved by tension, by uncertainty, by not knowing what you'll do next. Because mystery, not clarity, triggers obsession. She doesn't want the man who gives her everything. She wants the man she can't fully figure out. The man whose silence feels heavier than your longest paragraph. When you show her all your cards too soon, you don't become more lovable. You become more replaceable. Machiavelli called it the art of ambiguity. Never reveal your full hand. Keep her guessing, not as a game, but as an understanding of power. Power does not live in transparency. It lives in restraint. It's the man who disappears without flinching, who doesn't react emotionally, who keeps his dignity when tested. Because a woman doesn't test you for answers. She tests you for strength. Can you stay calm when she pulls away? Can you walk without turning back? Machiavelli said it best. Power always belongs to those who are unafraid of losing. She doesn't want your reassurance. She wants to feel your self-trust. That's the paradox. When you stop needing her, she starts needing you. You think being nice will win her over, that if you show up enough times, if you text good morning enough days in a row, she'll finally choose you. But Machiavelli would smirk at that idea, because he knew the bitter truth. People, especially women, don't respond to logic. They respond to status, presence, perceived importance. And nothing screams weakness louder than needing to prove you're strong. Here's what most men don't understand. She's not looking at who you say you are. She's watching how the world reacts to you. Do men respect you? Do other women notice you? Do you enter a room like you own it, or like you're seeking permission to exist? Machiavelli wrote, "A ruler must always appear beloved, even if he is secretly feared." Appearances rule emotions, especially hers. If others treat you as valuable, she will feel it before she even realizes it. That's why chasing doesn't work. It exposes you as someone who waits to be chosen. And a man who waits to be chosen is never seen as the chooser. Understand this. Your desire to be picked is what makes her walk away. A high-value man doesn't wait in line. He sets the room's tone. He doesn't ask, "Does she like me?" He asks, "Does she deserve access to me?" That one question flips the dynamic, and she feels it, Because she doesn't want the guy who's begging for her attention. She wants the man every room already notices, the one who doesn't perform, who doesn't justify, who doesn't explain himself. That's what Machiavelli understood better than anyone. Power isn't loud, it doesn't chase, it doesn't explain, it simply is. And people, especially women, surrender to it instinctively. So, the next time you think about sending that long text, proving your worth, explaining how much you care, don't. Just pause, breathe, and ask yourself, am I leading here, or am I just hoping to be chosen? Because until you become the one who chooses, you'll always be the one getting left behind. You want her to love you. Stop making yourself so available, not because playing games is powerful, but because ambiguity is. Machiavelli taught this exact tactic. Never reveal your entire strategy. Why? Because predictability kills desire. The more she knows exactly where you are, exactly how you feel, exactly when you'll text, the less tension she feels. And without tension, there's no seduction. Think of it like this. The moment you become routine, you stop being a mystery. And without mystery, you stop being wanted. You think you're showing loyalty. She just sees you as safe. And safety rarely creates fire. That's why she falls for men who withhold. Not because they're manipulative, but because they're rooted. A man who doesn't need to overshare, who doesn't explain himself constantly, who stays grounded in silence. That man radiates power. She doesn't chase him because he's mean. She chases him because his ambiguity makes her feel off balance. And that off-balance feeling, that's craving. Machiavelli called this the art of strategic distance. Give too much, you lose her. Give nothing, you confuse her. But give just enough to spark wonder. You control the dance. Let her guess. Let her wonder if you're thinking about her. Let her feel the absence between your messages. Because that absence is where tension grows. She'll replay every moment with you. She'll scan your words for deeper meaning. She'll wonder if you've lost interest, or if you're just that unshakable. And the moment she starts wondering, you've already won. This isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. Machiavelli didn't tell rulers to be cruel. He told them to be measured, to be unreadable, to make others lean in to understand them. So, if you're still trying to win her over with consistency, with reliability, with relentless presence, you're not creating love. You're creating comfort. And comfort never made anyone obsess. Want to know what does? The next part will expose the hidden biological instinct she can't explain, but can never ignore. You've been told it's about your words, your resume, your vibe, but beneath all of that is something deeper, something ancient, instinct. Her body decides before her brain does. You could say the perfect thing, look the perfect way, dress in every high-status brand. But if her instinct doesn't react to you, nothing else matters, because attraction doesn't begin in her logic. It begins in her nervous system. Her pupils dilate, her breath slows, or quickens. She leans in without realizing it. And Machiavelli would tell you, this can't be faked, this can't be bought. It's either there, or it isn't. He wrote, one must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Translation? A man must be both untouchable and unpredictable. The danger she senses from you must not be harm, but dominance, not aggression, but presence. And presence, real presence, doesn't come from words. It comes from breath, from posture, from silence that doesn't shrink. The man who commands her body's attention isn't necessarily the richest or the best looking. He's the one whose energy demands response, without touching, without asking, without needing. When you enter the room, do you shrink or expand? When you speak, does she feel the weight behind your words, or the desperation behind your tone? Machiavelli's laws of power weren't about tricks, they were about force of presence. He knew people, women especially, aren't drawn to kindness, They're drawn to hierarchy. If she senses you at the bottom of the pyramid, she feels nothing. But if you radiate from the top, she doesn't need to know why. She just feels it. This is the biology modern men ignore. You try to make her feel special, but Machiavelli would laugh. He'd say, make her feel uncertain. That's how you stay in her head. Not by giving, but by withholding. Power is felt, not explained. Attraction is ignited, not convinced. And if you don't understand this, you'll spend your life wondering why she keeps choosing the man who speaks less, does less, but somehow makes her feel everything. And if you're ready for the final truth, the thing she can't say out loud but obeys like law, Machiavelli knew power doesn't ask, it imposes. And in the world of female instinct, that power takes one shape, the man she can't predict. She doesn't crave clarity, she craves contrast. She doesn't want answers, she wants tension. Not the tension of anxiety, but of uncertainty. Does he want me? Is he pulling away? Why can't I read him? That tension is where desire lives. Because the moment she fully figures you out, she puts you down, not maliciously, but biologically. Certainty kills mystery. Mystery fuels emotional combustion. Machiavelli called this the strategic art of ambiguity. He warned rulers to never reveal their true plans, never explain their real thoughts, only let others guess. Because once someone knows your next move, you are no longer a threat, you're entertainment. And this is the mistake 99% of men make. You want her to feel safe, you want her to feel certain, so you over-explain, over-reveal, over-express, and in doing so, you kill the attraction, not intentionally, but inevitably. A powerful man doesn't show his whole hand, he lets her imagine it. She chases the possibility of closeness, not the certainty of it. She doesn't want you available, she wants you felt, rarely, strongly, briefly, like a lightning bolt, not a blanket. The blanket comforts, the lightning changes her chemistry. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said a ruler must be both loved and feared. But if you had to pick one, be feared, not because you hurt, but because you could and choose not to. That tension, that restraint, that quiet refusal to be owned is the source of all power. And in love, it's the difference between the man who gets chased and the man who gets ghosted. So ask yourself, are you chasing her comfort or commanding her instinct? Are you playing the perfect boyfriend or becoming the unforgettable mystery she never quite figured out? Because when a woman can't predict you, she can't replace you. There's one final rule Machiavelli would whisper in your ear, the rule most men ignore, the rule that determines whether she sees you as a man or a memory she deletes without hesitation. Power is not proven in how you stay, it is proven in how you leave. When she disrespects you, when she crosses that line, when she tests your boundary just to see if it's real, do you correct her or do you collapse? Most men plead, most men explain, most men beg to be understood. But the Machiavellian man, he doesn't explain himself. He removes himself, coldly, quietly, completely. No ultimatums, no warnings, no lectures, just silence, not to punish her, but to preserve himself. Machiavelli once said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved." When one of the two must be lacking, and nothing creates fear, like the calm disappearance of a man who knows his worth. She may not respect your words, she may not value your sacrifices, but she will never forget the man who walked away without needing to be asked to stay, because in that moment, she realizes something primal. She was not his oxygen, she was a luxury, and she lost it. Let this burn into your memory. The man who sets the boundary isn't the one she fears losing, it's the one she knows, won't hesitate to enforce it. Don't explain your standards, enforce them. Don't ask for respect, command it by leaving the table. where it isn't served, and do it not with rage, but with indifference. Machiavelli said it best. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Be both. Smart enough to sense the game, strong enough to exit the board, and silent enough to let your absence do what your presence never could, because a woman may forget the man who stayed, but she will never forget the one who walked away the moment she crossed the line. Machiavelli understood one thing that modern men still don't. Power is not in how much you love. It's in how little you need to be loved. That's the shift, the most dangerous shift a man can make, the one that flips the game forever. Most men chase. They chase approval. They chase affection. They chase the feeling of being enough. But Machiavelli's man, he doesn't chase anything. He becomes the standard that others must rise to. He doesn't ask, does she like me? He asks, is she worthy to be in my world? That one change, that one internal pivot, is the difference between being chosen and being wanted. Because women don't crave the man who needs them. They crave the man who doesn't, the man who smiles without them, succeeds without them, thinks without asking permission, leads without checking for validation. That man isn't cold. He's sovereign, and sovereignty is irresistible. Machiavelli would say, a wise prince ought never to keep faith when by doing so it would be against his interest. Translation: stop being loyal to illusions. Stop being faithful to fantasies. Stop holding on to connections that weaken you. Just because they once made you feel seen, you owe no one your peace. You owe no one your wholeness, not even her. Because if you sacrifice your edge to make her feel safe, you lose the very thing she was drawn to in the first place. The chase ends when you stop asking to be seen and start choosing who gets to see you. No more performance, no more self-abandonment, no more begging. From now on, you move with selection, not desperation. You walk into a room, and instead of wondering who will like you, you ask yourself, who here is ready for me? That's the shift. That's the power. That's when she starts chasing you. Because deep down, every woman wants to feel the pull of a man who doesn't need her, but could have her, and still walks away if she doesn't match his vision. That man doesn't win with flowers, text replies, or nice guy smiles. He wins by being the one she can't quite figure out, can't fully possess, can't stop thinking about, because he's already full without her. Here's what most men don't realize. The final form of power is not being chosen. It's not even being admired. It's being remembered. And Machiavelli knew this. He didn't teach men how to win hearts. He taught them how to win minds, how to take up space, even in silence, even after they've left the room. Because the most dangerous man isn't the loudest. He's the one you can't forget. So, how do you become unforgettable? Not by what you say, but by what you do not say. Not by how much attention you give, but by how effortlessly you withhold it. Machiavelli called it calculated absence, the art of becoming more desired, by not being constantly present. This is rule 4 of real power with women. Make her feel your absence like a presence. Let your silence haunt her more than your compliments ever could. When you become a man who is selective with his time, with his words, with his emotions, you stop being a person, you become a standard. Because now she's not just wondering, does he like me? She's asking herself, why am I thinking about him when he hasn't even called? That's not manipulation, that's gravity. You don't need to chase, you pull. And you know why it works? Because in a world of men constantly trying to please, you're the only one not performing, not proving, not submitting. This makes you rare. And in human psychology, what is rare becomes sacred. Women don't value what's freely given. They value what's earned. And your attention, your approval, your time should feel like a currency, Let her feel the weight of your withdrawal. Let her wonder if she lost something real. Let her miss you before she ever fully had you. That's rule 5. Never let her feel like she's figured you out. Because the moment she believes you're completely predictable, she starts writing the script without you. Machiavelli didn't create lovers. He created legends, men who are remembered, respected, feared, desired, even in absence. And you, if you walk this path, you'll stop asking how to attract women and start asking, who is worthy of being attracted to me? We've arrived at the final rule, the one Machiavelli never wrote directly, but lived by in every strategy, every silence, every power move he ever made. Rule 6, be willing to lose her, to never lose yourself. This is the most terrifying edge, and the most magnetic one, because women are not drawn to safety. They are drawn to sovereignty. The man who does not flinch, the man who does not explain, the man who would rather walk alone than bend his spine for crumbs of approval. That man, he doesn't ask, what should I do to keep her? He asks, what do I refuse to become just to be loved? Most men fold. They mold themselves into whatever shape she wants. They soften their voice, hide their ambition, bury their desires, just to be kept. But Machiavelli would laugh, because the moment you abandon your essence to be accepted, you've already been rejected. She may stay, she may smile, she may even say she loves you, but deep down, she no longer respects you. And when respect dies, attraction dies with it. A powerful man doesn't manipulate. He leads. He decides. He enforces his boundaries, not with anger, but with calm inevitability. She crosses the line once. He steps back. She plays games twice. He disappears, not out of pettiness, but out of self-worth, because he knows the highest power is not in domination. It's in detachment. That's the final test. Can you hold the gaze of a woman you deeply desire and still walk away? If it means betraying yourself to stay, if the answer is yes, you become unforgettable, not because you chased, but because you didn't flinch, because you stood so firmly in who you are that she either rises to meet you or vanishes into the background. And either way, you win, because you didn't trade your identity for temporary affection. You didn't become her fantasy. You became your own foundation. And that is how women really choose, not with logic, not with lists, not with words, but with instinct. And instinct always bends to the man who needs no one, but attracts everyone, the man who walks like a king before anyone calls him one, the man who doesn't demand loyalty because his presence alone makes betrayal unthinkable, the man who doesn't wait to be chosen because he already chose himself. If something inside you stirred while listening to this, don't scroll past it. Don't let it be another video you watch and forget. This isn't entertainment. It's a transmission, a mirror, a moment of remembrance. Because if you made it this far, you're not just consuming content. You're waking up. You're seeing through the performance. You're reclaiming the ground you gave away. So take a breath and ask yourself, what part of me just got called out? What part of me just got called back? If your soul feels it, speak it. Drop it in the comments. I don't chase. I choose, not for likes, but to mark this moment, to let your unconscious know you're no longer available for the performance. You're no longer playing the role of the nice guy, the compliant lover, the safe bet. You're stepping into your throne. And from this point forward, everything changes. Tap like not for the algorithm, but to anchor this, to embody what you just heard. Subscribe, not for more content, but because you're ready for more clarity, more depth, more truth. Because this channel isn't here to stroke your ego. It's here to strip away your illusions. And if you know a man still chasing, still performing, still mistaking obedience for masculinity, share this with him, because silence won't save him. Machiavelli said, men should be either treated generously or destroyed. So destroy the illusions. Treat yourself generously and walk away from the theater of being someone you're not. Because once you reclaim your power, you won't have to convince her. She'll feel it without you saying a word. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, don't chase. Choose and become the man no one forgets. Depthoria continues.